introduction in 2 minutes. So, can we ask everyone to please settle down?
Magandang hapon. Pakihanap ang inyong mga lamesa at upuan. Magandang hapon, magandang hapon. Maayong hapon. Que sí, chica, que sí. Buenas tardes. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, take your seats. Hello. Can I ask the people standing there to take your seats? Hirap, ano? You'll have more opportunities for picture taking later with our chief of staff. He has blocked off the rest of the afternoon for this event. So please, those seated at the back, please. Those standing at the back, please. Mayo, na. Mayo. Meldy, come. Come on, sit down. You cannot go home. Come. Okay. Okay. How were the sessions so far? Okay. Excellent, huh? You can feel the energy in the room, right? Tama? People are so eager to share, tama? We should have done this years ago, tama? Yeah. The people in Basilan said we should do this more often, just to share our stories. And this afternoon, we're happy that one of our original fellows. Hello, can I have your attention? Dito, I'm very jealous for my time. Please, no other discussant except me. Please, huh? We're very happy that this afternoon we'll hear from the experience of our fellows on the military. And we're so happy we caught General Charlie Galvez a few days before he's about to retire from the service. And despite his busy schedule, as you know, when generals retire, especially chiefs of staff, right, they have many things on their plate. He decided to allocate this afternoon to share his experiences on bridging leadership, how he influenced his career in the military. He has a prepared speech, and Charlie is always well prepared. But I asked him to share stories from the heart because I think that resonates more with this group of we have here. I've also asked Colonel Bim Quimado to make a presentation about the efforts of the military on the more formal aspects of leadership development, because I'm happy to share with you that one of the decisions of General Galvez is to come up with an AFP Center for Leadership Development, and bridging leadership will be a main component of that center. So, General Galvez, please.
Please allow me to recognize our our key personalities here. We have former Secretary Dinky Soliman, ma'am, ma'am. Mr. Roderick Castro, the Executive Director of Team Energy Foundation Incorporated, sir. My mentor, and my tormentor. He is always tormenting me during our bridging leadership days. Where is your report, Charlie? Where is your report? It's incomplete. Mr. Ernesto Garilao, the President's willing family. Until now, he's always that to make sure that I will have time today. So please, I will already canceled everything just for this talk today. Professor Manny De Vera, the Executive Director of AIM Tech for Bridging Leadership. Mr. Ariel Hernandez, Senior Director, Balay Mindanao. Nagagalit si Sir Billy, hindi mo raw siya bininbitahan. And then Dr. Heidi Benaventura, Swillig Foundation. Ma'am. Dr. Timothy Ting, Swillig Foundation po. Then Dr. Ryan Guinaran, Benguet State University. Then Professor Nieves Confessor, our previous mentor, AIM Professor. Governor J.B. Tyron Uy, Compostela Valley, one of our best governor ever. Talagang very po siya. He is very courageous and also in governance feature, he is one of the most popular among the military. Siya po yung talagang, he as the governor really had balls. Attorney Engelbert Caronan Jr., the President Development Academy of the Philippines. And then Major General, we have here my classmate, General Mendoza, the Deputy Education and Training. Distinguished guests from the different sectors, my mentor, Sir Gabino, Sir Ding Perer, our friends from Sinarjos, Ma'am Peggy Dulani, our friends from the Bridging Leadership Fellows, Bridging Leadership Syndicate number 1 and number 2 and number 3. But I believe the best, there is no second to none to the third syndicate, as always. First of all, our country is beset by complex issues. We face security concerns that are more complicated and volatile than ever before. The presence of terrorist group insurgency problems and maritime security challenges lock the country in a massive scale. In the same manner, our soldiers constantly experience individual challenges that test their integrity and strength of character. This calls for the concrete substantial course of action for the military organization to come up with solutions that can address internal and external security challenges and finally put an end to struggle and conflict. So nakita po natin na we have a lot of challenges in the Philippines. And my experience, my leadership journey in having this BL, I believe first is the changing of mindset from a military mindset to a people-centered mindset. So yung when I studied with Professor Garlao, they thought that soldiers are utak pulbura, meaning many military. We are we called it enemy oriented. So our parameters for success is how many body counts did you kill. Then second is how many firearms did you recover. But during my BL journey, my mindset was changed from enemy to people centered, because Professor Garilao taught me that the consequential outcome of bridging leadership is really on how we can develop lasting relationship. That is basically how we could have a lasting relationship. That relationship can be formal or informal, or maybe personal or interpersonal, maybe also organizational. Meaning organizational, we will have a MOA, we will have some sort of legal. So yun po ang that's the first thing that I have learned. And the second item that really gave an impact on me is how you will develop your leadership capital. The Marawi experience is basically is a resource-based, resource-based, people-oriented battle. It changed the mindset of even different countries. You can see many countries they fought in Fallujah, they fought in Mosul, they fought in Raqqa. They use modern equipments, but in Marawi, the heart of a soldier is different from the. So the Filipino soldiers fight with their no, with their heart and with their no, with their interest of really rescuing the 2,000 hostages and also finishing the fight. So basically, the leadership capital that we have to really imbibe in bridging leadership is really how how we will find solutions in this very complex and very dangerous problem. Business is very different from us. The military sector, we cannot make mistake because if we commit mistake, the lives of the people is at stake, and even the future of the nation is at stake. In business, if you lose something, you are only losing money. But in security sector, we are losing our face, we are losing our honor, and we are losing our the lives of our people. And explaining explaining how how the soldiers killed to the families is somewhat doubly challenging, especially if the incident happened is a fratricide, meaning we were able we the person were killed because of the friendly fires. So that's how my leadership journey evolved, and it's good that I concentrated on those aspects. Ang natutunan ko kay Professor Gabino and also with all the professors that I had is really on how we could develop ourselves in order to have that very substantial leadership capital that we can overcome anything. Kasi ang tinuturo nga ng is we have simple problems, we have complex problems, and we have generational problems to solve. And the fighting in Mindanao is basically a combination of a complex and a generational problem. And there is no easy answer. So yun ang I was able to to internalize those teachings in the breeding leadership that in order to develop one's capacity and leadership capacity is really to have that some sort of self awareness. What are the things that is lacking to me? What are the things that I need to improve? And what are the things that I need to develop? Most of the time, kami po ni Professor Gabino and also Professor Garlao, most of the time we have some interpersonal sessions, and that's how we use many models. Aside from the BL model, we use the heroic leadership models. We have also applied the threshold of emotional quotient. How we will use the emotional threshold in order to influence and inspire others. So yung po ang yung po ang I have learned from my leadership journey at the early stage. So first, basically BL is a process wherein we have to build strong relationships with others so that we can influence them. Kasi po the domains that the leadership development evolves is on how we will develop oneself, and then how we will have we have the personal domain, the social domain, the organizational domain, and the societal domain. And on the middle of that domains is the culture and the integrity that we need to know we need to develop. Um, the military mindset really right now has evolved because of the bridging leadership concept. We were able to influence our campaign plans. The campaign plan of the armed forces that had been written in September 2011 by General Bautista is basically Oplan Bayanihan. The Oplan Bayanihan, so from individual, we transcend to organizational. So we were able to train a lot of people, from bridging leadership that we had. So we, sa second division, when I was in second division, we were able to train 30. Then from that changing of mindset of having a enemy oriented concept that we have, the Oplan Lambat Bitag, Oplan what we call the other Oplan Lambat Bitag series, and also the Oplan Bayanihan and Kapayapaan now, it transcends into a more humanistic approach. So the changing of mindset of the armed forces has evolved into a some sort of, we are now changing our culture, military culture, wherein human rights is an imperative for us. Second is the rules of engagement. So meaning there is a complete change of establishing institutions. So from individual, it became an institutional. Yung sinasabi nga natin na kay Professor Ernie na yung tinatawag nating what is the modalities that we want to change. So yun ang what we have experienced, and later when we move forward, when I was in second division, I was transferred sa GHQ, and then GHQ, that's where we were able to have yung campaign plan, because as a chief operations, I was able to convince some of the commanders that this is the way really how to solve problem. Basically, insurgency, many people said that insurgency is because of poverty. No, it's a behavioral problem. It's a behavioral problem. I tell you, it's not about it's a behavioral problem. It's a cultural behavioral problem. How can you fight a different culture? It's not poverty. Actually, it's not poverty. It's a behavior. It's a behavior. You have to change the behavior. You have to change the mindset of others. So, as I have said, there are four domains of mentorship: mentoring oneself, mentoring others, mentoring organizations, and mentoring societies. In our campaign plan right now, we have the CSP, Community Support Plan. We are now mentoring the barangay captains. We are now mentoring the LGUs. We are now mentoring some of the governors. We are mentoring also some of the stakeholders. Many people hate martial law, but this is really the reality of martial law. When the martial law was um, established in 2017, these are the facts. There are only six local government units that has been under the seal of governance feature, meaning anim lang nag-qualify. But after the implementation of martial law in 2017 and 2018, there are 23 LGUs that has qualified for seal of governance. Kung titingnan nyo, if you look at the criteria was 4 criteria only, but now it becomes 7. Pinahirapan po ni General Anyo. Mas lalong pinahirapan po ni General Anyo para at least makita niya na talagang yung governance feature will be okay. So with the 7 criteria, many from Luzon, Visayas, and many in Manila, in some regions, bumaba po ang ang rating nila. But in the ARMM, from 20 naging 23. Ibig sabihin na sustain. Tumaas pa ng tatlo. And the ARMM right now, ang GDP niya is 4.3, naging 7.3. 7.3. That's all, the figures cannot lie. 7.3. Davao now 10% ang GDP niya, and also Jensan is 8. Zamboanga City is a very one of the Zamboanga City is before it is one of the most dangerous. The place of my Eisenhower, Edwin. It's one of the most dangerous, including Cotabato City. Now, Zamboanga, since 2015, no untoward incident. And its rating for economic rating right now is from 102, now 42 na siya. 42 na siya. And then also, Cotabato City is one of the most dangerous, said by the different international community. Now is the most investment friendly. Tapos, walang putukan during New Year. And then kung titingnan nyo, kung magparada ang sasakyan, nakadikit na sa culvert. There is already discipline. There is already discipline in Cotabato City. Before, you cannot monstrous traffic. But now we can That's how we know how we work things. Let's go back to Marawi incident. The Marawi incident happened not because of the ISIS. It's because there is no governance. There is no governance. Yung tinuturo kasi sir ni Professor Garlao, hindi linear yung problema. It's a behavioral problem, meaning may behavior yun. It's curve. So pinag-aralan namin sa system dynamics thinking is that yung problema normally non-linear. It's a system related. So meaning, as Einstein have said, if you want to solve a problem and you have only 1 hour to solve it, you have to dedicate 58 seconds to understand the problem and only 2 seconds in giving the solutions. So yung U theory na tinuturo sa bridging leadership very useful. Because understanding will solve everything. If you understand the culture in Mindanao, you can solve many things. So yun ang nakita natin nung tiningnan namin yung Marawi. Why Marawi happened? It's because there is no governance. 75% of the LGUs are living in Zamboanga City. Meron sa Iligan, Cagayan de Oro, at saka po meron pa po sa Manila. And we have also in Davao, and also living in Cebu. 75%. Pagka nagkaroon kami ng PPOC, when we have a PPOC and RPOC, mas una po silang umuwi sa Cagayan at saka sa Iligan, sa amin. So what we have done now is, during the martial law, we inspect them. Lahat ng barangay captain, pinalilinya namin, talagang namin. Sa Sulu, for the first time, 100% nandun po lahat ang barangay captain when we form them. And that is the language that they understand. The language that they understand. So yung tinatawag nating, if you build good relationship with some people, you can influence them. First, there is kaya yung inano ko sir, I want to relate to you is how you will translate yung when you build something, some relationship. Bridging leadership is building some relationship. I have as my experience, I have built a lot of good relationship with the LGUs. No Tausug ever since have surrendered. But because of our influence, the military influence, and because of our strategy of diplomatic mentoring, we call it diplomatic mentoring. Diplomatic mentoring is basically persuasive diplomacy, which is I learned from bridging leadership on how you will bridge something different, on how you will persuade people on different ways. Like for example, Sulu. Never a Tausug will surrender firearms. Never. And also, in all the fights, even during the Moro Wars, they never surrendered. But when I was become the West Mincom commandant, more than 1,500 firearms had surrendered. The mayors, including Sakurtan, they surrendered 12 50 caliber machine gun, 4 mortars, 2 RPGs, and then also more than 652 firearms. Nung makita nga ni Presidente, sabi ni Presidente, putan lahat ng ano, baka magiba yung ano, magiba yung papag sa bigat ng mga firearms. So that relationship that we build with with the people of Sulu, we were able to convince them that really firearms is not really useful, because firearms is really something that really make situation worse. So changing their mindset that this is the right thing to do, and this is the way how to do it. Naano po namin yun. Then later on, we convince them to resolve conflicts. They have a lot of lateral conflicts within the Mindanao area, and it becomes a source of clan wars in Mindanao. So what happened now is, because of our persuasive diplomacy and bridging diplomacy with the LGUs, we were able to convince even the Abu Sayyaf to surrender. Now, how many Abu Sayyaf already surrendered? 272. 272. And now, in Eastern Mindanao, with the help of our governor, we have now more than 11,333 surrendered, including the UGMOS. Yung sinasabing UGMOS, underground movements, organizations. It's the figure cannot lie. The figure cannot lie. So that's how we do it. How we do it. So the acme of leadership is really on how to solve problems even without shooting a single shot. So I believe Sir Gabino is already that's how my experience as now as chief of staff. I really changed the mindset of the armed forces. That really the best capital that we had is really our people, and on how we to develop our people. That's how we introduce the activation of the Leadership Development Center. Now we have activated the Leadership Development Center, and we intend to twin it with the MSU, with Ateneo, with UP, and even with other educational institutions, so that with AIM, so that we can expand and harmonize our educational system that will be some sort of pattern to bridging leadership model. So maybe that's it, and I'm ready for any questions.
If it's okay with you, I'll ask Colonel Camado to present first, and can you reserve your questions for later, so that we can combine all of your questions. Thank you, Charlie. Bim?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Colonel Quemado from the Philippine Marines. With the indulgence of our Chief of Staff, actually, I'm going to break protocol. Usually in our organization, when the boss has already spoken, everyone toes the line and say, yes, sir. This time, we'll use the we'll use the formula of bridging leadership. This is all about open space, freedom of communication, critical thinking, and creative solutions. It will never stop. Actually, as a Marine, when I first was exposed to the BL framework, like any other soldier, probably the mindset was, how do I weaponize this thing to achieve my end state? So that time, I think like any other soldier who went through the program, it was a struggle because for us, we're in war fighting is really our core competency. The debate goes on until today of whether how we will put into full utilization outcomes of the BL framework. But then again, the Chief of Staff has already said, closure of the conflict, 50 years of continuous conflict. The numbers are going down. But parang sa sine ba, what is the closure? How will it look like? What will the soldiers do? What if we drive ourselves to a state of irrelevance because it's already peaceful and development has set in? We go back to our original mandate, which is territorial defense. And in NOLCOM, where I work, we have started to already apply it, working with the fisher folks to secure our islands. Islands that you have not heard of, like Mavulis Island, our first island to the north. Di nyo alam yan. See, you're Filipinos and you forgot about your first island to the north. And that's supposed to be where our backward is between us and our neighbors up north. And there in that island today, right, this very hour, fisher folks, soldiers, sailors, and marines, and the LGU and BFAR and other agencies they're all building a fisherman shelter. Not one government fund is into that project. Lahat yung galing sa stakeholders. Because of co-ownership. Every island counts, every reef matters. And we don't want to start a conflict that we cannot contain or finish. Preventing conflict is our end state here. Giving space for peace and development to set in. Not just at a national level, but regional, international. And with the creation and activation of the Leadership Center by our Chief of Staff. Sir, palakpakan po natin, ma'am, yung Chief of Staff namin. He was behind everything, and his vision is very strategic actually. It is not a center for our training. It is a convergence for capacity building for everyone, from all sectors of society, from the discipline of the armed forces, the transparency, and the cost-effectiveness mindset of the private and business sector, the research discipline, and the public service mindset of the government sector, the LGU. All of these will converge in that center of which the AAP would like to partner with you in the coming years. With that, sir, I think that's about it for me. And thank you for everyone for listening. Talk about outcomes. Maraming narratives. Thank you.
By the way, I'd just like to acknowledge the presence of former General Ding Ferrer, no? One of our very first fellows in bridging leadership. Yeah, I think you're the classmate of Dedet, right? I mean, the classmate of, in working for a peaceful outcome in Basilan, and even as a consultant in the private sector after retired, Ding is very conscious about applying bridging leadership to his work in Mindanao. So, thank you for being here, Ding. I'll now open the floor. I'm sure you have many questions, just like me. So, any questions for General Galvez or Colonel Quemado, or even General Ferrer? Yes.
Good afternoon. I have a question to the Chief of Staff. I've heard there's going to be after the retirement, this is going to be a little it's nearing already. And I've heard that you'd be going somewhere in the government. What are the plans and the future steps that you want to take as peace advocate in this country?
Sir, I was informed that I will go to OPAP two days ago. And the effectivity is upon my retirement. So I have no retirement. to speak. I believe what we can do now is one is to really to ensure that the BOL will be implemented properly. As you have heard, I went to Darapanan, and this is really a very heartwarming experience for me. It is very very emotional for me because it is a record breaking. That in military we have normally 4-year honors. The 4-year honors is only consists of only 19 man, the highest, or maybe an honor that they have given to a dignitary. But when I went to Darapanan after I've been installed as chief of staff, the 4-year honors that the MILF has given to me is 4.7 kilometer long, with more than 6,000 people. At the edge, the both edge of the with the road, they stayed there for 7 o'clock in the morning up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Before the 4 years honors normally arrival and departure. They never left the road. So that road is more or less 5 kilometers and 6,000 women, children, warriors, and also veteran fighters. And really, I really teary-eyed that time because that's how I became important to the MILF. Because during the time that in Mama Sapano, I really, really depended them, and I was introduced by my classmate, PNP, and the military. Some sort have had some sort of painful experience with Mama Sapano, and they introduced me that this is my classmate and this is the lawyer of the MILF. But they treasured that very much, and I believe it reaped it reaped a lot of goodwill, and I uh, just think in my mind that if these 6,000 people will gonna fight with us, I believe many casualties, maybe 1,000 for us and maybe 6,000 for them, and how many civilians will be killed, and that will be my task in the coming days. That I will make sure that the peace will come really to Mindanao, because we believe even World Bank believe that if Mindanao will become peaceful, Philippines will become peaceful, and if Mindanao will be developed, the whole Philippines will be developed. There are a lot of opportunities that we can get from Mindanao, and I will make sure it will happen. It will happen in 2 years or 3 years from now.
Thank you, Chief of Staff. My name is Abarra. I'm from Ethiopia, and thank you for sharing your wisdom, sir. Um, in Ethiopia, we have the same kind of issues where we have one region fighting against the other region, where our youth is really rebelling against the current government, and then when the politicians fail, they push the military on the line. I mean, when they are not able to govern, then they engage the military, and the military gets into conflict with the society. And people started hating the military, and the military is more or less losing its legitimacy and love from its community. So how can we bridge? How can this can, is there any the same experience with yours, and how can we overcome this kind of challenge, sir?
Yes, sir. What we have before is really during rallies. It is the military that been fronted. We have learned our lessons too in Menjola, and also in different rallies. But now, what we are doing right now is we are pushing that if there are some sort of our strategy is really pushing that the center of everything is governance. So our strategy is governance, security, and development. But normally, what encompasses of them all security and development will really rely more on the degree of governance that we have. So instead that the military will be fronting our enemy, what we are doing right now is really the underlying reasons, because we believe in the military we know that there are two determinants of conflict. One is the triggers and the drivers. Normally, what we wanted is to really push the driver, and there will be a problem. What we are doing right now is we look at the drivers, the underlying reason why they rebel. So we look we try to understand why they behave like that, and then why they rebel, and then we saw that the underlying reason is that really they were not given equitable opportunities. Their rights are being trampled, and sometimes the basic requirements that they had in living a happy life. Yung, that's the reason that we fronted. We normally solve the problem through interagency approach, because we believe that the problem of insurgency, the problem of conflict is not cannot be solved militarily. That's what we learned from the bridging leadership. It's basically a social behavioral problem. So normally in our strategy, the OPLAN fund that we had right now is centered on governance. That's why we try to mentor, we try to influence the barangay captains, the mayors, and the governors to do governance to provide needed services. That's why in the situation right now in the Philippines is that from military point of view to people oriented strategy. So what we have now is we don't have any more functions. For example, if it is really purpose of demonstration, it is the PNP that we. If it is law enforcement, we try to convince the law enforcement agencies, the other law enforcement agencies to come in, rather than us. So we will just be supporting. So the military is more in a support role, supporting our local government units and supporting our law enforcement units, because insurgency for us is basically it is a law enforcement problem. Okay, okay. Yes.
Sir, even before you were appointed as the chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, we already consider you chief when you were still in Basilan. As part of, he's actually part of our bridging leader core group in Basilan. But as bridging leader and a very close ally of the president now, sir, how would you influence the president to be also a BL?
I believe many of you have misconceptions. You have to agree with me because I work with him in Israel. I will divulge some of the Trillanes case. During the issue on Trillanes, there are many lawyers asking us that we convene the court martial so that Trillanes will be arrested. When we have some sort of security council meeting with the president, we told the president, sir, if we will convene the court martial, the chances that the people will go against us is too risky. And I think this is a political issue. We should not drag the military on this political issue because we want to maintain. So what is your recommendation, General? Sir, the case of Trillanes is in RTC 148 and 150. The criminal case of rebellion and coup d'etat is with the case. Our case is only an admin case, kanta kaming, and it is not kulungable. That's my word. It's not kulungable. And the main the main the maximum penalty of that is only administrative discharge. He is already a civilian and there is no need for him to. So ang sinabi ni Presidente, so let's go to the courts. I don't want to be remembered as a president that people will be fighting each other, soldier to soldier. That's how we know. So we will go to legal. We will go to the courts. I will not. So ang ginawa namin talaga hindi namin kinumbinyo, no? Because the president already said that we will use legal means. So yun po ang ano yan. And to really put it straight. Si presidente po mahilig po talagang maganda. Kakilala ni nakilala ni Sen. Mahilig po talaga siyang magbiro. Tsaka yung mga biro niya minsan sarcastic. Ang ano niya kasi siya siyempre napakabait niya eh. Yung nakikita niya yung level na pagka kasi kung masyado kang mabait, masyado kang abusuhin kasi ganun lang that's the problem with us. When somebody is very very kind, you want to try to abuse. So ang ginagawa niya actually ang namin tawag namin psyops eh. Yung sinasabi niya kabaliktaran nung gagawin niya. That's how we do things. That's why nakita natin naging maganda kasi even the Americans doesn't know what is in his mind. Even the other. Kaya yung nakita nyo, ang ganda ng relationship namin ngayon with the Americans. Kami ang nag-benefit. We benefited from it. Then we also have a good relationship with other countries. I believe there is really a misconception. Alam ni Governor na mabait si Presidente. Ang maganda kay Presidente kasi, pagka may sinabi kang problema, he want to solve it right away. Right away. Ayaw niya talaga yung paligoy-ligoy pa. That's why he want the military, because the military think that way. If there is a problem, we have to solve it immediately. So yun po ang yung palang masabi ko sa inyo na that's the real real. And I have many recommendations to him. Marami akong recommendation, I think more than 10. And he get it all. He get it all. He is a listening president. Maybe ang lang natin is very misconceived because yung the way he talk kasi Bisaya eh. Ang Bisaya talagang walang po yan. Tsaka talagang brusko talaga yan. Kahit na yung father ko talaga with their indulgence. Ang sasabihin niya, puta ka dito, pupugutan kita ng ulo. Kumain ka dito. Pagka hindi ka kumain dito, walang hiya ka. Halika dito. Ganun lang how they talk. Kasi ganun, yun ang culture ng mga matatanda eh. So I believe yun ang nakita natin na that's how he really talk. You have to understand the president. And he is not lazy. He's working 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock in the morning. He is working at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 5 o'clock in the morning. Kaya kadalasan sa amin puyat kasi minsan tumatawag siya 3 o'clock in the morning. Yan po totoo.
Any other question? Yes.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I know at this point that the AFP is going to be more focused on the defense for territorial integrity and that the PNP will really take over towards internal security. Now, how can the AFP possibly influence the PNP as an institution towards, getting this mindset as a bridging leader and also be able to build its relations with the communities just as much as the AFP has actually been far advanced in this, no? So that's the other half of security. So how are you going to be engaged with them even as OPAP?
I believe there are many flawed sa organization ng PNP. Unang-una, yung PNP nila hindi nila it's not under the PNP. The PNP, which is the breeding ground of our young policeman, is under the public safety. We know that the public safety is very siya. It's a political appointees. And also the promotion of the PNP is under the NAPOLCOM. Unlike sa amin, it is under the Board of General. We are the one promoting our people. If the NAPOLCOM, which is a political appointee, and also the public safety is a political appointee, meaning those motivations and trainings are flawed. So we will have a problem. We will have a problem. So that's why what I'm telling to OD is we have to open some space at PMA. So ang namin, we have an idea that 25 from PNP will go to PMA so that they will learn. Kasi yung SAP, yung Special Action Force, is basically paramilitary. It's doing also a military thing, the counterinsurgency. And also now we are now having joint campaign planning. Joint campaign planning meaning we are working each other. We have the mission planning and also campaign planning together with the PNP. And also the PNP now is operating also with us. Now we are conducting some sort of lectures on how we can have yung CMO. Because the transformation of the armed forces is basically when we introduce CMO related operations. Now we are doing it with the PNP. We have really a serious problem on the discipline of the PNP. But if we will not allow the PNP leadership to manage its own, we will have a very serious problem. Like for example, the flawed promotion system, the fraud training, and also yung influence ng LGU. For example, there is a deputization of the LGU. The politicization of the young provincial directors and also COPs. Madali pong the neutrality and professionalism of the PNP may be politically sometimes politically motivated. That's why I believe if we can reorganize the PNP, that it's like the integrated national police before. It will be more professional security force. But right now, the PNP law, I believe it's really flawed. It's really flawed.
Any other question? None. Maybe I have one of my own, and this is really to seek your advice, Charlie. No, I was in East Mindanao Command last week for a day, invited by IE to have a session with the officers there, because they're trying to write up what they're doing and what they've done success. And ladies and gentlemen, it stunned me that all the presentations of the brigade commanders were about multi-stakeholder collaboration. Yeah, they don't call it bridging leadership. I don't think they have had formal training, but their approach is really stakeholder engagement. So one brigade talked about organizing farmers for organic farming. So I was kidding them. You should now be called the Agricultural Forces of the Philippines, no longer the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And they have very interesting names. Kapalapayan. They wanted to go to mushroom production. This is the AFP. This is a brigade commander talk about mushroom production. There's another brigade commander talk about engaging LGUs. Okay, so I think it's there, no? They see it. So my question is, putting on my hat for bridging leadership, how, even if they don't call it bridging leadership right now, they have elements of it. So the question is, the challenge I think is, how do we sustain this so that future generations of officers will not depend on the wisdom of the commander to institute certain directions, but can see, there may be a better way to do things rather than just fighting.
Sir, we have to establish the institutions. That's why kung makita na po natin na yung sa bridging leadership, ownership, co-ownership, and then co-creation. It's basically we have to drive individual to collective. So the decision, especially the decision in the armed forces, is not by the chief of staff alone. We are being governed by the board of generals. So sometimes nakikita natin na the chief of staff is changing doors every now and then. But we have the TDCS, who is 2 years 2 years siyang nandun. And then the Vice Chief of Staff, Jeremy Son, has been there as a Vice Chief of Staff. And these are the institutions. These are the institutions. So what will be the solutions now that we are doing something in Ismingcom, we will institutionalize it. And the way we have to institutionalize it is really when we created the AEP Leadership Development Center, wherein it will really look at this research what are the lessons learned. They will put this in record, and later they will include it in our teaching on the bridging leadership aspect. So what we are doing right now in the armed forces is really the individual experiences of the different brigades is now being synthesized and now being recorded and now being institutionalized through our leadership development center and our training. One of the brigade commander is General Basiao. General Basiao now is the commander of CGSC. So all those experiences will be transcend to the colleges.
So for the benefit of our overseas guests, CGSC is the Command and General Staff College. It's the training ground for officers. So the head there is newly appointed, right? Colonel General Basiao is newly appointed, and he understands stakeholder engagement very well. So yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Last two questions.
Maraming salamat po, Sir General. I would like to share these insights from my place. I'm from Lanao del Norte. I would like to share these good practices. I'm not talking about best because best na yan eh. Good practices that we had with the armed forces in my area of responsibility and calling it as multi-stakeholders, and we call it bridging leaders. One of the things that I remembered when we engaged our non-state actors, they were able to have this voluntary turn-in of cruiser weapons. Hindi po ito napapansin ng madla, no? In our little way, it reminded me with General Gapay on doing these things, you know. They voluntarily not surrender. We don't term it surrender. Because in return of the government intervention, they said may scholarships na yung mga anak nila, binibigyan na ng scholarships ng gobyerno, yung magkaangkla siya, it's a multi-stakeholders talaga. Sabi nila, what we'll do with our firearms. So it's a cruiser. When we speak about cruiser, it's two-person, using it. It's not only one person. Yung mga malalaki for the benefit of those who are not familiar with. So, you can see that at the town plaza of Bacolod, and that's one of the good practices. It's a symbol of peace na nasa plaza mismo. This cruiser, this, ang tawag dyan yung mahaba po, sir, yung Barrett, RPG, M203. So, it's there. So, nasa kahon yung iba because there were 12 of them. So, these are good practices na hindi naisulat. And nobody even care. Nobody even, share it. But we share it in our little way, in our little engagement in our province. I was looking at going up to the First Division and to the West Mincom na hindi po siya masyado pinag-usapan, but it's a very, very good practice because before na nag-ano si MILF ng decommissioning, yung nagbigay sila nung sa Darapanan the last time, we've been doing that in our little way, in a very tactical manner. Tapos, salamat po sir pala sa pag-acknowledge the last time for pakiglait sa West Mincom. You accorded the certificate of recognition the last time when you were there. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Jehan Mutin. I'm from Marawi City. Um, Task Force Bangon Marawi has really been moving very slowly, and there's a negative perception by the community that it has also something to do with how it's being run by the military. And with your with you being at the helm of OPAP soon, would that mean a more prominent role of OPAP in the task force. And since OPAP has been spending a lot of money in training, and we seem to be in agreement that bridging leadership is a framework to bring into the organization, is this something that we can also expect to see in the task force Bangon Marawi?
The reason why that the rehabilitation and also some of the requirements that the contractor should show money on the constructions of the rehabilitation of Marawi. That's how the contracting issue have really drag us to certain degree of delay. In modernization program, that's also our problem. When we have some sort of 8 billion worth or 10 billion worth of project, it will drag to 3 years, more than 3 years, because of those issues. But right now, I believe if you will look at the experience of contracting, it is still on time pa rin yung ng Marawi. Kasi ang tinitingnan na natin, maybe the time element from Marawi have been completed. Marawi have been yung 2017 until now. Maybe you are looking on that only on that perspective. But on the perspective of the process, mahirap po talaga ma'am yung contracting. Everybody knows that if you will contract, this is more than 50 billion to 80 billion worth of money that we will be spending. And it's very hard really to look at contractor that have the capacity to do this. So yun po ang medyo po namin na medyo mahirap po. That's why we created Joint Task Force now to look into the social issues of the IDPs. And also the activation of the AP Leadership Development Center is really, we will in the future, we will have a twinning program with the MSU so that we can teach some programs in order to have yung tinatawag natin yung social healing and also social intervention with the IDPs and also the affected areas. But please kasi nakita natin sa Yolanda, we still have problem right now in Yolanda. Until now it's not yet finished. So these are realities really, because 9184 is really dragging us so much.
We don't have time, I'm sorry, because we have to move on. May I make two more statements? Guys, we have a chance to influence an institution to the AFP Leadership Development Center. So I hope that when Colonel Bim Quemado comes calling and requests for help from all the organizations here, we will join forces, no? Because the model is not just for the center, for the AFP, but for everybody else. No? That the center will be a convergence area. Okay, so please, we'll work together with Colonel Bim in whatever ways we can to help really get this BL more rooted in the whole institution. And with that, I'd like to ask Colonel Quemado, General Ferrer, and General Galvez to stand up so we can offer them a round of applause. Please stand up. Thank you. Thank you very much, Charlie. The next number in the program is. And then, Nikki, how much time do you need? 15 minutes. we will end by 4, right? No. 4:30. Let's have a 5-minute bio break, and then we'll take the next session on ways forward. Okay.